The king who executed his own army. Here's why. As strong as the men who fight for him. But what happens when a king decides that the greatest threat to his kingdom is his own army? This is the story of a ruler who ordered the unthinkable, the execution of soldiers who once swore loyalty to him. A king who believed that discipline through terror was the only way to protect his crown. A king whose name would echo through history, not for his victories, but for the moment he turned his sword not toward an enemy, but toward his own men. And the reason he did it is even darker than the punishment itself. Our story begins in a kingdom on the brink of collapse, a land tearing apart from rebellion, corruption, and the exhaustion of years of war. The treasury was empty. The people were starving. And the army, the symbol of strength, pride, and unity, was growing weak. Not physically, but morally. Whispers drifted through taverns, training grounds, and barracks. Why keep fighting? Why die for a king who dines in gold while we bleed in mud? Why obey someone who no longer listens? Every soldier felt the weight of loss, hunger, and fear. The king heard these whispers, and to him, it didn't sound like frustration. It sounded like mutiny. The king had watched rebellion destroy rulers before. He had seen how quickly a kingdom could fall when soldiers stopped believing in their leader. In his mind, rebellion always started the same way. Not with swords drawn, not with open defiance, but with doubt. A single seed of doubt could spread through an army faster than any enemy could march. And he was determined to rip that seed out before it could grow. Then one bitter winter night, a group of soldiers abandoned their posts. Some claimed they were starving. Others said they were freezing. Many historians believe they were pushed past their limits, men trapped between loyalty and survival. But the king didn't ask why they deserted. He didn't care. In his eyes, desertion was treason. And treason inside an army was a disease. If one could flee, others would follow. And if enough followed, there would be no kingdom left to rule. So instead of asking what drove these men to run, the king asked only one question: how do I make sure no one else dares to? And his answer was one of the most brutal punishments ever recorded. The king ordered the deserters to be captured, not quietly, not privately, but publicly. He demanded that the entire army watch what would happen next. His method was ancient, barbaric, and feared decimation. The soldiers were lined up in groups of 10. A cold silence fell as they drew lots. One man from every group, chosen by chance, not guilt, was sentenced to die. And here was the cruelest part. They weren't killed by executioners, but by the other 9 men. Brothers in arms were forced to kill their own comrades with stones, blades, or their bare hands. Some cried, some begged, some couldn't bring themselves to strike. But the king didn't look away. To him, this was discipline. This was loyalty reforged through fear. And as the blood soaked the ground, he declared, "This army does not run. This army does not question. This army obeys." At that moment, something in the soldiers changed. Outwardly, they stood straighter. They spoke less. They followed orders with rigid obedience. But beneath the surface, something darker was forming. Resentment, anger, a silent promise of revenge. Soldiers no longer fought out of pride or devotion. They fought because they were terrified of what would happen if they didn't. Fear is powerful, but it is not stable. It holds men for a moment, but never forever. Historians still debate the king's true intentions. Was he a tyrant, a madman, a leader so desperate to save his crumbling kingdom that he believed violence was his only option? Some argue he wanted control at any cost. Others suggest he truly believed this punishment was necessary to restore order. But most agree on one thing: he didn't execute his soldiers to punish them. He executed them to set an example, a message carved in blood for every man still holding a sword. His message was simple: I will sacrifice anything, anyone, to keep this kingdom under control. Time it worked. The army fell into strict discipline. Battles were fought without hesitation. No one dared speak of rebellion. But this obedience wasn't loyalty, it was survival. And the king, blinded by fear of losing power, didn't understand the difference. Years passed, the soldiers grew colder. The fire they once fought with dimmed. They no longer looked at the king with admiration or loyalty, only silence. The kind of silence that waits. The kind of silence that grows before a storm. And eventually, that storm came. A new rebellion rose, not from foreign invaders, not from angry peasants, But from within the very kingdom the king believed he had secured through fear. And when the rebels marched toward the palace, the king turned to the one group that had always protected him, his army. But the men he had once punished so brutally, the ones who had been forced to kill, their brothers did not fight for him. Some stepped aside. Some laid down their weapons. Some quietly opened the palace gates. A few may have even joined the rebels themselves. In the end, the king was not defeated by an enemy army. He was defeated by the consequences of his own fear, by the very men he once relied on, by the soldiers he tried to control through terror instead of trust. The king believed brutality would strengthen his army. Instead, it hollowed it out from the inside. And that is the true lesson history left behind. Fear can control people, but it cannot lead them. A kingdom built on terror will always crumble. A leader who rules through punishment will always fall. And an army that obeys only because it's afraid will abandon its ruler the moment that fear weakens. He forgot that leadership is not about forcing obedience. It's about earning it. He forgot that loyalty cannot be beaten into someone. It must be built through trust, fairness, and respect. And he forgot that the greatest threat to a kingdom is not always the enemy outside its walls, but the decisions made within them. The king who executed his own army hoped to strengthen his power. Instead, he destroyed the very foundation that held his kingdom together. And history remembers him not as a hero or a savior, but as a warning. A reminder of what happens when fear replaces wisdom, when cruelty replaces compassion, and when a leader forgets the humanity of the people who serve him, because power maintained by blood eventually drowns its keeper. When we look at the story of this king, it becomes clear that the true downfall of a ruler is never the enemy beyond the walls, it's the fear they create within their own. Power without empathy becomes a cage, not a throne. Authority enforced through cruelty may silence rebellion for a moment, but it also poisons loyalty, corrodes trust, and plants the seeds of betrayal. This king believed he could shape obedience through terror, yet he only shaped resentment. And in the end, the same fear he relied on became the weapon that destroyed him. His story warns us that real leadership is not measured by how many people obey, but by how many choose to stand with you even when fear is gone. Kings who forget this lose everything. True leadership inspires devotion, not dread. A kingdom built on fear is fragile, no matter how powerful it seems. Obedience forced through cruelty is temporary. Respect and loyalty are earned through fairness, vision, and integrity. The most dangerous threat to any ruler is the erosion of trust within their own ranks, not the armies of outsiders. Power without compassion corrupts both the leader and the people, leaving destruction in its wake. History remembers those who rule with wisdom and empathy, not those who command through terror.